Chapter 8. We're on the deck taking in the passing scenery when the Pharaoh gives a big sigh. "What's the matter?" I ask. "I am filled with sadness whenever I pass through this stretch of the Nile," he says, pointing to a semicircle of land on the eastern side of the river. "What's here that makes you sad?" "We are passing the city of Akhetaten." "City? There's nothing but a few ruins." "Centuries ago, Rappahannock," he says, sighing again. "One of the most beautiful cities in Egypt stood here. My father had drawings of it, the ones that escaped destruction. A pharaoh called Amenhotep believed Aten, the sun disk, was the supreme god. He changed his name to Akhenaten in Aten's honor and built Akhetaten, which means horizon of the Aten. With his wife, Nefertiti, and his court, he left Waset to live there. I've heard of Nefertiti. She's said to be the most beautiful queen ever." "Quite so. And I hope one day to have a beautiful queen by my side. The temple he built for Aten was airy and roofless so the sun disk could be worshipped in each of its beautiful phases: sunrise, midday, and sunset. At each phase, Pharaoh Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and their daughters would bring offerings to the temple and, while the harps played, recite their prayers to Aten. I close my eyes and see Akhenaten, Nefertiti, and their daughters, bejeweled and dressed in their finest as they lay their offerings of food, libations, and flowers on the altar. I hear their prayers mixing with the gentle music of the harps. Aten gently warms them during the first visit and cruelly burns them when they return at noon. "Rappahannock, were you listening?" asks the pharaoh. "Yes," I reply, opening my eyes, then closing them again. It's now the end of the day. Aten is low on the horizon, and the members of the royal family are paying their respects to the dying god, their shadows stretching across the temple floor like long strips of embalming linen. Cold darkness and mournful silence fall upon the temple when all light and warmth have gone, and the prayers and the music have ceased. "Rappahannock, I'm sorry," I say, opening my eyes again. "I was daydreaming. What happened to Akhenaten and Nefertiti?" "Well, he made enemies. In making Aten the supreme god, he undermined the priests throughout Egypt who served other gods. The priests of Amun-Ra especially were angry. Even Ti, his mother, was unhappy with him, and she, among others, tried to convince him to relinquish his beliefs. Some say he relented when his health was failing. Some say that after his death, Nefertiti became pharaoh. Only one thing is certain. A couple of years later, Nefertiti disappeared. She was probably assassinated." "My king! Now I understand why this place makes you so sad." "There is more. Shortly after Akhenaten died and Nefertiti disappeared, Akhetaten was abandoned. Eventually it was destroyed by Akhenaten's enemies and the enemies of his religion. His name became anathema throughout Egypt, and almost all traces of it were erased. It was as if he had never existed." "Do you think he was right to do what he did?" "The consequences for Egypt were terrible," the pharaoh says. "I only hope that what I do during my reign will make Egypt a stronger nation and a better place to live, and that when I am dying I will not waver in my convictions nor regret any of my actions." He pets me and goes into the cabin. A dark cloud has covered the sun, and I'm relieved when the river takes us away from the ghostly city where only snakes and scorpions dwell. But Akhenaten still haunts me, and I imagine his soul walking through the ruins, searching for the temple where he once stood with his beloved Nefertiti, maybe holding hands, feeling unbounded happiness. "Farewell, Akhenaten," I cry, looking back. "Farewell, Nefertiti." When days later the sailors shout, "Menfi!" my heart races with anticipation. I climb to the top of the cabin to get a better view. What a sight! On the western bank of the Nile, at the base of a cliff, lies the city of Menfi, a jewel encased in white walls. A few days earlier, a messenger was sent ahead to alert the city of the pharaoh's visit, and when we arrive, Officials and dignitaries of many different ranks are on hand to greet him. The royal chariot is taken from one of our supply barges, and 2 white stallions from the pharaoh's stable in Menfi are harnessed to it. They're pawing the ground and occasionally rearing up. A man holds their bridles, one in each hand, struggling to keep the great animals still. As the pharaoh and I step into the chariot, the horses nod their heads, as if approving of our presence. The pharaoh takes the reins, and the man lets go of the bridles. Now the horses are free to hold their heads high. They neigh loudly, as if saying, "Our king, we have been waiting for your return. Command us, and we'll obey." When the pharaoh flicks the reins and the chariot moves, their neighing is drowned out by the shouts of the cheering people. 2 royal guards with staves run ahead into the crowd to clear a way for the chariot. Citizens of Menfi, so many I can't begin to count them, line our route to the palace. They are waving palm branches, throwing lotus flowers in front of the chariot. Parents hold their children on their shoulders so they too can behold the good God. One day these children will tell their own children of a day long ago when they saw the head of the pharaoh turn into a flame as his crowned head was touched by Ra. They will say that the wind turned the pharaoh's dress into wings, revealing him as, indeed, the falcon Horus, Ra's beloved son. A garland of flowers soars through the air and lands on my head. The pharaoh laughs, and for a brief moment the crowd goes silent. It's been a long time since they've seen their king laugh. Then, unexpectedly, like thunder in a serene sky, comes a roar, the loudest cheer I've ever heard. The people shout the pharaoh's name again and again. They shout my name, too, and sing my praises. "Rapahamen, our good god's cat! Rapahamen, the friend of our beloved father!" The blaring of trumpets announces our arrival at the palace. When the pharaoh alights from the chariot, servants greet him by kissing the ground in front of him. On the palace steps are more officials, including courtiers and countless keepers and overseers. The overseer of the 2 crowns, the keeper of the kitchen, the keeper of the stable. When we enter the palace, the pharaoh says, "Rapahamen, I must give my instructions to the palace officials. Why don't you take a nap while I'm gone?" "I will, my king. I'm weary." A pretty servant girl takes me to the royal bedchamber, giggling all the way. As soon as she closes the curtain behind her, I go to the bed in the middle of the room and, after a perfunctory lick of my fur, jump up onto the cover. I'm so tired I want to lie down and sleep, but the elaborate design won't let me. Embroidered in gold, it shows the cobra who protects Lower Egypt and the vulture who protects Upper Egypt, its wings spread wide, reaching to the sides of the bed. I saw a representation of them when I was in the looted tomb looking for food and drink. But here, the vulture's head has been replaced by the cobra's, the eyes embroidered in red. The image of Egypt's protectors should make me feel safe, but I don't. Those foreboding red eyes frighten me. I hide the head with my forepaws. That's better. But I can't stay like this. I lift my paws. Threads from the embroidery are caught in them. I give a tuck. Nothing. I give a hard pull and the cobra's head begins to unravel. I try to chew the threads off my claws, but they're made of gold and I can't break them. I try to shake them off, but with each movement of my paws, more of the head disappears. Soon, only the red eyes are left. If I remove the eyes, no one will ever know there was a head. But I can't get my claws under the eyes because of the gold threads. I use my teeth on one of the eyes. I feel it giving. Good. For the love of Bastet. I've chewed too hard. The eye is gone, but so is a piece of the cover. What I have now is a hole in the remaining eye. There's only one thing to do. Remove the other eye as well. There. One hole beside the other. But the design has lost its beauty. 2 holes and a headless vulture. This is not something that should be covering the royal bed. It might be best to remove the evidence. The cover. I get out of the bed and pull the cover off. I manage to remove the gold threads from my claws and gather them into a heap on top of the cover. But where can I hide this mess? I look around. I open the coffers, but they're full. So where? Under the bed, of course! Ah, I call this a job well done. Now I'm really exhausted. I climb back in bed, avoid the alabaster headrest, a most uncomfortable contraption, and choose a nice fluffy pillow to put under my head. Finally, some peace. I'm awakened by a rough tongue licking my face. The smell is unmistakable. Rotten fish. It's Peppy, my old friend. I open my eyes and look into his. "You spoiled cat," he says. "You scrawny old cat. How long has it been, my good friend?" "Too long, Peppy." So much has changed since I last saw him. "I hear you can walk and talk like a human," he says. I jump down from the bed, and while walking around it, I tell him in human language that I'm happy to see him. Peppy shakes his head in disbelief and then starts laughing uncontrollably, managing between one laugh and another to say that seeing me walk erect and hearing me speak human language is the funniest thing he's ever witnessed. "Are you still a free spirit?" I ask him in feline language. "Or have you claimed somebody?" "I haven't changed. I love to move around, see new places, meet different cats and humans. Sometimes I stay at a temple for a while. The priests reward me for catching mice in the granary." No one can beat Peppy when it comes to catching mice. "It's no use asking you to stay at court with me, is it?" "You know me." "Were you injured in a fight with another cat?" I ask, as he's been licking his rump a lot. "No, much worse than that. While I was napping, I was kicked." My ears prick up. "When did it happen?" "This morning, here in Menfi. I was sleeping, dreaming, when a kick in the ass sent me flying." "Did you see who did it?" Peppy gives me a description that fits the vizier exactly. "The bastard is in Menfi. He was traveling when the pharaoh and I were. He did try to drown me. The mummy in my dream told me not to eat or drink, because she knew I would drown if my stomach was full. But why is the vizier in Menfi? No doubt to finish the job. I tell Peppy who kicked him, but say nothing about the vizier's attempt to murder me. Why worry my friend? "Stay for lunch." "I'd like to, but I have to go." He's happier in the desert than in the house, even if the house is a palace. "Goodbye, Peppy." "So long, Rapahamen." We rub heads and lick each other. I close my eyes so he won't see the sadness in them, and when I open them, he's gone. Later, the pharaoh comes into the royal bedchamber, begins looking around as if puzzled, then walks over to the bed. For the love of Bastet, he's upset. The cover! He's looking for the cover! Maybe it was a family treasure. "Rapahamen, what is that horrible smell?" He puts his nose to my head, then steps back. "Rapahamen, you and the bed reek of rotten fish." Of course, Peppy sat on the bed with me, and when we rubbed heads to say goodbye, his smell rubbed off on me. The pharaoh hasn't even noticed that the cover is missing. "Vizier Kakamut is in town," I say. Yes, I cannot fathom why when I think of all the responsibilities he has in Waset. If you only knew. "Funny," he mumbles to himself. "The servants know that whenever I come to stay in Menfi, they should put the sacred cover on the bed. I wonder what has happened to it. Time to make myself scarce." The pharaoh's words have made my insides tremble, and when I leave his presence I let loose a guilty fart. What would he say about this smell? Rotten fish, indeed.